Quality costs less at our new look stores across Leinster. Surprise yourself at deskelly.ie.
Mainly dry this evening, snow flurries in the east and south, cold and frosty with overnight temperatures between -2 and -5 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Well, things are suddenly looking very rosy for the Irish team at the top of the Six Nations table. They are on 14 points, 5 points clear of England, 6 clear of Scotland, who come to Dublin next. We will talk to Eddie O'Sullivan and Stephen Ferris after 8 o'clock on Monday Night Rugby. A very good football lineup on the show for you this evening. Pat Nevin, as usual, this hour. We will have Henry Winter, who was at Wembley watching the demise of Arsenal yesterday. And we will also talk to Rob Harris about the politics of Pep. That is all on the way. 53106, the text number. We're on Twitter at Off The Ball. Enda McGinley as well will talk to us about Mickey Hart and Tyrone, as they don't have the best of league campaigns. Kevin Kilbane is here in studio as ever. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Joe. All good?
All good. And Richie McCormack here as well.
How are you, Joe?
I'll tell you one thing. If you're in a game and Gary Neville is the co-commentator, don't walk on the pitch, might be the word of advice.
Look at Mustafi there in the middle. He's got Aguero behind him. Mustafi's got to be stronger than that. It's pathetic defending. And that second goal, a set piece, no concentration, no marking at the edge of the box. It really is bad. And there's that 30,000 Arsenal fans to my left. They deserve more, and the team have shown them nothing. As I have to say, their football's been bad. Their passing of the ball's been bad. I bet that's what the Arsenal fans want to do. Turn round. Look at Ramsey walking. He's walking. Xhaka's walking, Ozil walking. They're walking. Don't walk at Wembley. Don't walk on a football pitch. Run. Absolute disgrace they are. They're an absolute disgrace. Walking on a football pitch at Wembley. Giving up. Spineless. And look at that. And that's what you cause. I've not really liked the defending for a long time. I've not really liked the leadership, the character for a long time, and the spirit on the pitch. But you've always liked the football. I don't even like the football anymore. The last bastion has gone. This is a dark, dark day. Because the team just have not shown up. Red seats appearing on the Arsenal end. They've had enough. Painful. For those two, they've seen so much. There will be a very, very difficult post-mortem after this game. It will not be pleasant. Arsenal have just failed. Full stop. There is nothing I've liked about this Arsenal performance. Not one single thing.
Post-mortem can't be much more unpleasant than Gary Neville's co-commentary.
Just play that thing or just play that back.
Yeah.
Presuming
when he
there would be a
says, look at that. When you look at that, as I'm sure as everyone knows, it was a poor child crying in the crowd, who I dare say didn't need to be picked out by the cameraman and have that hanging over him forever and in school on Monday. But look, he was upset and Arsenal were bad. And the interesting point which Neville makes, and I think it's a very good one because you've made it before, is that their football isn't actually that good a lot of the time. Anyway, it's not like they're playing brilliant free-flowing stuff one half of the pitch and defending terribly, which was maybe the transition period in Arsenal, where they went from a great team into whatever they are now. That transition is now complete, and they're now a bit dull to watch at times up top and still terrible at the back, and this is where Arsene Wenger is.
Yes, right. I think, what is it now, 14 years? I think we're going on 14 years now without a trophy, or without winning the Premier League, should I say. And I think you're right in saying that. I think post that era, the Invincibles era, I think they were still playing very good football. They were a decent watch, you have to say that at times, and I would have played against a lot of those sides. But now, watching them, and I know it's quite painful because you know you're going to have the same sort of conversation around them, but I just feel as though, and I felt it for a long time the last couple of seasons, that I don't think they're a great watch. I don't think they're exciting. I think there have been occasions in certain games they have been exciting, but by and large, I don't think they are. I think they're actually a poor watch. Very negative for the way that they pass. I think it's slow and lethargic, and I just don't see anything from them that's going to excite me. You know, the amount of money that you're paying for an Arsenal season ticket, that can't be great for them when they're going to watch that every week.
We were in here doing the paper review yesterday. Richie saw the interview as well. Ian Wright in the Sunday Times, and this was before the game as well. I was talking to David Walsh in the Sunday Times, and he mentioned two things. One, that he was at the World Cup in 2014 with Wenger. They spent a good bit of time together. Yeah. And Wright at that point was, I would suspect, feeling slightly self-conscious about criticising Wenger, given the fact that Wenger had done quite a lot for him in his career and he really liked him personally. And Wenger, which kind of makes you like Wenger as well, said to Wright, there's no issues. I know if you criticise me publicly, it's from a place of love.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. You know, it's a very mature point from Wenger as opposed to you should give me loyalty forever. But the quote from Wright in the piece then right after that was, I don't know if it word for word, I'll grab it and mention it in the football show later because there's a few things in that interview, but it amounted to Wenger now is Muhammad Ali against Larry Holmes or late on in his career, and what we're watching here is another great in his demise. And it's a really powerful point, one because Wright doesn't want to have to say this, and secondly, like when you use the Ali reference, that's such an inevitable demise. Like there's no way back. Ali's never going to get better at that point, and Wright is, by likening him to Ali at that point, is like there's no chance Wenger's turning this around. That's where he is. It is the unstoppable, inarguable demise of a great. That is what's happening.
But like Ali and like any boxer who finds himself in that situation, the only person who can call time and knows when they're actually going to walk away is Wenger. He's the only person who's actually going to make this decision, because from a board level it's so fractious with Arsenal.
Should be taken out of his hands.
It should be taken out of his hands. Any other club it would be.
It's a 2-year contract.
It doesn't matter. Contracts don't mean jack in the world of football anymore.
They can't fire him though.
Why not?
They just can't.
Why not?
You can't give him a 2-year contract. Wenger, that club, they can't fire him.
It's unlikely.
Have to see out whatever contract he's on.
It's unlikely, but it might be something at the end of the season where you have that chat. You get him into the office and the 3 or 4 of you all sit down and you come to an agreement and say, look, we're not going to sack you, but we're at a crossroads here. Like we're going to go one way or another here. And there is that old adage, careful what you wish for. But I think even if Arsenal were to slip down the league and maybe finish 8th, 9th, whatever it would be, that's a possibility if Wenger were to leave. But I think they'll always come back stronger, and you'll probably see an Arsenal a better side in 5 years' time.
They need some sort of refreshing.
You were at Old Trafford yesterday?
Yeah, great. Intriguing game. I don't think it was a great. I was going to say great game. Then I was
pulled out of that
term. Yeah,
straight away.
It was a good game. I think it was a very good tactical game. I think it was one of those games, and we spoke about it before the game. I think it was always probably going to be that type of match. Chelsea probably better in the first half. United better in the second half. That's probably how it went. And United just did enough to win it probably in the end. But it wasn't the free flowing football that I'd seen over the weekend watching Liverpool. Liverpool just simply outstanding at the moment. Really, really good to watch. Then watching City then demolish Arsenal in that cup final, and then of course you see Tottenham were fairly fortunate the way that it happened late on. But I think those sides in particular, I think they're overshadowing Man United at the moment, and even Chelsea, I think, because of the style of football that they're actually playing. And
rather impressively, Jose Mourinho has already managed to kill the excitement and completely nullify Alexis Sanchez. It's only taken him 5-6 games, and he's properly done a good job on him. He's ruined him.
Yeah, it is.
Ahead of schedule.
I was seeing Graham Souness's comments actually just saying, look, this guy totally anonymous. What did he do today? What's he give you across the 90 minutes? So you're judging him in this big game, and we're judging him maybe over the last 5 or 6 games, as you said, and he just hasn't produced. He hasn't been firing.
Bar you singling him out for not doing very much during the game, I can't remember you mentioning his name.
No, it's true.
The commentary yesterday.
He did very little.
Diddy Hammond made the point on RTE after the Arsenal game, the Chelsea Barcelona game. Last week he was all over the shop here. Manchester United, Sevilla.
Yeah,
so many games on. Yeah. It's hard to keep track of the games.
A lot of them rugby in your case.
And who's doing the punditry? And it was the night where they were talking about.
You're going to stop laughing at one or two of these little jokes that come your way sometimes, Joe. You have to acknowledge them at least. Come on.
He was talking about Mourinho's anti-football, and he said that Mourinho now, the way he is doing things, even if De Bruyne, and he meant current day De Bruyne, not the De Bruyne that Mourinho had before with all that potential, even if De Bruyne went there now, he would look very average very quickly. Yeah. And I worry, I don't want to see this happen to Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah, well, again, we're going to judge him over a period of time, and that's the thing. We'll talk to Pat Nevin around this with Lukaku issue. Lukaku, I wouldn't necessarily did play well yesterday, very, very well, and there was 1 or 2 comments that I got on Twitter that was quick to say to me, look, are you going to actually eat your words about what you said? But he did play very well yesterday, but I think we're going to actually have to look at Lukaku over a 10 or a 15 game period, or against the big sides in these big matches. That's what you're going to have to look at him at. Then let's see how consistent he is across.
Will he control the ball?
Well, Lukaku played well in the sense of he played well as a means to help the team yesterday.
Yeah,
and ultimately that's what Mourinho asks of any player. He doesn't want that standout player to go on a jinking run and potentially lose the ball in the dangerous area. He wants to serve the whole.
But Alexis Sanchez didn't produce. But
Lukaku literally couldn't control the ball for the first 3-4 months.
It's right. He couldn't really control the ball at times yesterday in the start of the match. I think Mourinho took. Joel, did you see the first goal? You obviously seen the first goal. Mm-hmm. It was a really poor touch for the first goal. The ball was laid into him by Alexis Sanchez. A little one round the corner, a little give and go. was what Sanchez wanted. The ball bounced up to his head. That was his first touch.
Yeah.
And then he clashed heads with Christensen.
Yeah.
The ball then broke back. Was it Matic? I think it was. Might have been Sanchez again. Played through to Martial. Martial was great. Then a little flick inside to Lukaku. That's how he got into the game. That was a confidence booster that he probably needed. And so often that's been happening to him this season. First touch lets him down, but it doesn't necessarily lead to a goal like it did yesterday. And that's
did very well for the second goal.
Yeah, second goal was great. It was a brilliantly worked goal all around that. Yeah.
Do you have any qualms, by the way, with Gary Neville and his co-comment? Is he over the top? Was it unfair, or was it spot on?
I've never heard that sort of co-commentary before. It's quite unique, isn't it? Really, when you're hearing Gary Neville say it.
It's like fan TV.
I mean, yeah, we sat here and we said the same sort of things, haven't we? So often about the side, about the lack of effort, about the work rate without the ball. That's something that's seriously lacking within Arsenal's side. So it just sounds strange when you're hearing it from a co-commentator. But in fairness, it was probably right. It was fair. You can't say it's not.
Given the occasion for them not to show up to such a degree, it deserves calling.
Child crying. Andrew says, at least Gary Neville's arse is a splinter-free zone. Far too many lads sitting on the fence in football punditry. I don't know if he's having a pop directly at you. I mean, I'm sure you're in there.
Possibly, yeah.
Is your arse a splinter-free zone?
I don't think so. Is it? Is it?
You
told me, Joe. Richie put me right on that.
Lads, in fairness to Neville, he wasn't biased when he didn't include United in the teams that are better than Arsenal. When he mentioned Liverpool, City, and Spurs, Pat and Leash. I really don't think Neville is biased.
It wasn't a question of bias there yesterday. It was just a question.
Was it over the top?
Yeah.
What did you
Gary
think?
Neville's biased.
I thought it was fair enough.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, he is. Gary Neville is
biased.
He's biased. Yeah.
Has he not hammered Manchester United for
he
years?
has, but he's biased though, isn't he? That's his
way?
first love. That's
There's a natural bias in the same way that Wright has a natural bias towards Arsenal.
Yeah, well,
but ultimately he has to be a realist about it.
But
and he was a realist.
Ian Wright calls them us. Ian Wright says, "If what we're going to do to win this game," that's how Ian Wright talks.
Yeah.
So but that's only natural.
But Neville shoots down United plenty. He doesn't say, "Oh, that's not a penalty."
No, he has done. Yeah, he has done.
Has he?
No. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He has shot them down. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would mean he's
but
not really
it is a
biased.
natural bias, though, isn't it? I think I can imagine Gary Neville if they go to Anfield, Man United, and win a game. I can imagine him if he's in the commentary booth, getting off the commentary with a big smile on his face.
Yeah.
Giving it the V signs to all the scousers around him. I can well imagine.
But it doesn't affect his punditry or what he's seeing.
No, it probably doesn't.
Probably. Ooh, what's Kev not wanting to say here?
What?
This is death by 1,000 cuts for Wenger and his standing in the game. From the saviour of English football to pariah amongst his own fans. It's a sad demise, Connor and Tip. One last question on that then before we start the news round. Is this now affecting his standing in the game, his reputation, or will ultimately, as soon as he retires, everyone remembers the good stuff?
There will be a certain element that will remember the good stuff, but I think it is affecting it. Yeah, right. I think it is. I think you only need to look at a lot of football supporters now. Say you're 20 years of age, you don't remember when you were 5 and 6 and also winning Premier Leagues and when they were dominating English football. You don't remember it. So it's the next generation of football fans it is affecting. Yeah.
So we'll start the news round, and it's Rugby Start. The news came through today on Jamie Heslip.
Yeah, and tributes have been flowing in all day for Heslip, who's announced his retirement from rugby with immediate effect. The 34-year-old won 95 Ireland caps and was part of 3 Six Nations winning sides, including that Grand Slam winning team of 2009. He hasn't played since sustaining a back injury in the warm-up before the Six Nations meeting with England at the Aviva last March. A one-club man, he played 229 times for Leinster, winning 3 Heineken Cups in that period. And our own Brian O'Driscoll today described Heslip as a terrific professional and a savvy player. And speaking on this morning's Pat Kenny show here on News Talk, Keith Wood singled out Heslip for his loyalty.
He was a one club man, which in this day and age is pretty amazing, actually, that you can stay loyal to the one club all the time. And there was always interest in him from overseas, and yet he wanted to play in the blue jersey and he stayed there, which is very impressive.
Leinster backs coach Gervin Dempsey was in front of the cameras today. He reflected on his own early impressions of Dempsey.
A young, fresh-faced Jamie Heslip on the scene, just full of energy, the exuberance of youth, and he just brought a freshness to Leinster in particular. And I was fortunate enough to play with him for 4 seasons, and he was phenomenal. He was one of those guys that just trained all the time, was always fit to train, was never really hampered by injury, and just loved the game. He was always a bit cheeky in the changing room, and he was a bit of a messer at times as well, but he loved the game and he loved playing. So it's disappointing, sad news that unfortunately he's had to call an end to a very illustrious career, and won nearly everything going in terms of rugby.
Reflections on Heslip.
Yeah, it would be very vain if Gervin Dempsey was reflecting on Gervin Dempsey. But Heslip, the irony of his durability is that his career was ended in a warm-up before an England game.
Do you know one thing he's just said there?
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe. He mentioned the point they're always available for training. I can imagine he's probably that type of player that would have trained every single session. That's, of course, it goes against your body at times. He's probably made himself available probably too often when he hasn't been fully fit.
Well, the line on Heslip, because I know you were off doing slightly more impressive things like playing in the Premier League and winning camps for Ireland, but Heslip, it was almost like his celebrated kind of, not unique, but above all else, he was unbelievably durable. That was the thing. He never seemed to get injuries. Like he never actually.
Back injury.
Well, it's a back injury. Well, we don't know much about it, to be honest. Heslip's kept that fairly private, as is his right, I suppose. But it didn't seem like a John Terry situation where he was in bits and would strap everything up and go out and play anyway. It seemed like he genuinely seemed to just not glide through, but come through a decade in rugby without ever suffering routine injuries or serious injuries. Just seemed to well put together that way.
It's just something that stuck out to me there. I mean, if it was that back injury, I probably would have had a similar sort of thing. I'd never missed training, hardly ever missed training, perhaps maybe 1 or 2 days here and there, and then all of a sudden a back injury just crept up on me, and that kind of what finished me playing. And it's amazing sometimes that you're actually putting yourself through it day to day. Something you're obviously feeling a little niggle, a little knock here and there. You're just kind of getting on and going through it, and ultimately that's what maybe has caught up with him further down the line.
Maybe we don't even know exactly what happened to him in that warm up. So I'm sure we were certainly in touch with him and get him into the studio at some point when he fancies an interview or a chat over the next couple of weeks. Has there been a fitter, more consistent Irish international sports person than Heaslip? Maybe
Kevin Kilbane.
Maybe Dennis Irwin says. Paul, Heslip often doesn't get the credit he deserves because he was a deceptively powerful runner, glided across the top of the ground, and because he was a relatively elegant mover for a forward, people questioned his intensity. Top player, says Pete. Lots of text coming in. I was just trying to think there, is he the most decorated Irish player? The Grand Slam in 09 he was there for, and then the 2 Six Nations and the 3 Heineken Cups. The only other player I could think of, and someone will text in, I'm sure, and have a better memory or think of someone, but the only other player I could think of who had the same span pretty much was Sexton. O'Driscoll retired 14, so he missed the 15 Six Nations. Sexton is still on the road, obviously.
Where's Rob Kearney's sit into?
Rob Kearney's another good point. Yeah, Rob Kearney would be in the same. Now you could argue Heaslip went on 2 Lions tours.
Keane Healy. He'd be in around.
Keane Healy would have as well. Would he have missed one of those Six Nations latterly with injury? But he's in the same bracket. Maybe there's a few of them actually, now that you think of it. But I mean, pretty incredible stuff. So Jamie Heaslip, we'll ask Eddie O'Sullivan and Stephen Ferris, who would have played in the back row with Heaslip plenty of times, about him on Monday Night Rugby.
It's been confirmed that Michael O'Reilly has been banned from boxing and indeed sport of all kinds for 4 years. O'Reilly tested positive for methandienone before he was due to compete at the Rio Olympics in 2016. O'Reilly claimed he unintentionally took the substance as part of a supplement, but Sport Ireland say he didn't provide adequate evidence to show his violation was unintentional, and so O'Reilly will not be able to compete before July 11th, 2020. Back to the rugby, and Sean O'Brien looks increasingly unlikely to play in Ireland's Six Nations campaign. The flanker has been ruled out of Leinster's Pro 14 date with the Scarlets this coming weekend as he continues to rehab from a hip injury. O'Brien hasn't played since December's Champions Cup win over Exeter at the Aviva. Shamrock Rovers' quest for an elusive first win of the season continues tonight with a visit of Bray Wanderers to Tallaght Stadium. That's one of 3 games in the SSE Airtricity Premier Division tonight and is the later kick-off of the 3. Kicks off at 8 o'clock, while Waterford play host to St Pat's at the RSC. Kick-off is at 7:45, and Oisin Langan has been looking ahead to this one.
It's welcome to the RSC, where it's cold but at the very least dry for this SSE Airtricity League Premier League encounter between Waterford FC and St Pat's. Waterford have had a mixed start in a result sense. They beat Derry on the first night out here, but then they went and lost to Cork City last Friday night in Turner's Cross. But they played well in that game and apparently did have chances, especially in the first half. For St Pat's, same thing. 1-1, lost one. Lost the first one against Cork City. They should have done better at Richmond Park. They deserved at least a draw, but then they went and beat Bray 2-1. Now Christy Fagan is back and fit for them, and that's important. They need him firing on all cylinders if they're to avoid the kind of trouble that they met last season. For Waterford, they got promoted out of the first division, but they've got a big budget and there's a lot of expectation on them. Some news for Waterford running into this game: Director of Football Pat Fenlon has left his job, but he'll still work with the club's owner and backer Lee Power. He'll be a consultant with him. So it'll be interesting to see how Alan Reynolds gets on now that he's going solo. It is Waterford against St. Pat's in the SSE Airtricity League. Kick-off here at the RSC is at 7:45.
Good man, Tosheen, for braving the cold down there. Cork will look to preserve their 100% start when they travel to Sligo tonight. The Leesiders won't have it easy, according to their manager John Caulfield, who's been impressed with how quickly Sligo's new signings have settled in.
Centre forward Morgan scored, and as I said, there's a lot of talk about him. They've the Brazilian Pirelli brought in. They have a new goalkeeper brought in. McLean is coming at left back, from Waterford. So all of a sudden he's introduced 4 or 5 new players, and he's made a much stronger squad. So obviously it's a great game for them, being at home after winning on Friday night.
Texting and Heslip, which maybe captures the brilliance a bit more eloquently than we did. Heslip was Mr. Consistency, 13 seasons at the top of his game, 05 to 2018. Roll of Honour is unbelievable. The most capped Irish back row forward, 100 caps including his lines. I think he had 95 Irish and 5 lines. 2 Lions tours, including 5 test starts, 1 Grand Slam, 3 Six Nations Championships in total, 3 Heineken Cups, 1 Challenge Cup, 3 Pro 12s, 4 European Player of the Year nominations, 2 World Player of the Year nominations, and 229 Leinster appearances, the most of any Leinster forward. End text.
It's not a bad career there, is it? Done quite well there, the lad.
But what's he done for me lately, Joe?
Listen, it's an unbelievable career. Neville's comments, rightly harsh, and seem especially harsh because lads in commentary are usually a bit more diplomatic. But can you, Joe, Richie or Kev, disagree with anything he said there? Says Siobhan. Yeah, you can't.
No.
It was someone. I saw someone on Twitter describe it as almost Shakespearean, the way he just went off in this soliloquy, destroying them.
That's why he keeps going.
It was brilliant. He just kept going. It was really good. It was great.
At some point, you'd expect Martin Tyler to pat him on the tie and just go, ease off a little bit. It's okay. The GAA has thrown up a clash with Ireland's final Six Nations game with their scheduling of the All-Ireland Club finals. The football final meeting of Currafin and Nemo Rangers will be first up at Croke Park on Patrick's Day with a 2 o'clock throw-in time. That'll be followed by the hurling final meeting of defending champions Coola and Limerick's na Piarsaigh at 3:45. Ireland's rugby side, as you well know, Joe, take on England at Twickenham at 2:45 that afternoon. So smack bang in the middle will be that game at Twickers. Munster look like they'll have to plan without Chris Clute for the remainder of the season. The flanker will be out for 3 to 4 months, having undergone an operation on the arm he fractured during Friday's Pro 14 win over Glasgow. Hooker Niall Scannell is being assessed by their medical team after picking up a rib injury. Tommy O'Donnell has had a quicker than expected recovery from a shoulder issue, and he is available for Friday's trip to Edinburgh.
Tiger Woods.
You wanted to fit this one in, didn't you? He was desperate. We were told 24s are out time.
Big story.
I've got to say though, I did enjoy it this week.
Big story.
Yeah, Tiger Woods posted his best tournament finish since the Wyndham Championship of 2015 last night. His final round of 70 saw him finish 12th at the Honda Classic. I predicted top 15 last night, Joe.
12th
at the Honda Classic in Florida. Have we got time for the clip? Yes or no? Yeah, we'll go with you. Speaking to CBS's Dottie Pepper after his round, Woods outlined what comes between now and Augusta in 4 weeks' time.
Well, I think that I need to get back in the gym again and start training. I've played a couple weeks here, so go back there and get stronger again and get back at it. 2 weeks back-to-back events for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah.
How's your body? The body feels good. I just need to keep it feeling good. So that's why I said to get back in the gym and keep it strong. And I feel like I made a big leap this week because I really hit it well. And I was able to control it, especially in this wind. It's not easy to do, and I was able to do it for most of the week.
Yeah, Woods was still 8 adrift of the top of the leaderboard. Both Justin Thomas and Luke List heading the field on 8 under par there, but it was Thomas who prevailed at the first playoff hole to pick up the victory.
Lovely stuff. We have got Pat Nevin next.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
In association with the Air Sport app, allowing you to cast your favourite sporting action from your tablet or mobile phone straight to your TV.
Lunchtime Live.
I'm not kind of like, let's all have Naked Tuesday. I'm saying that it shouldn't be taboo in your own home when you've discussed this, that this is